as I'm holding it really lightly, more and more of it will come out, and he'll adjust his own jaw that way. So for a horse that's being bitted, or especially horses that pack a curve bit every day, this is a good stretch. And so, just reach in. Hello. It's okay. It's okay.
What are you doing?
I'm just holding it. He'll start giving it to me. More and more will come out. I have a lot of tongue in there. And I'm not pulling it. And I just hold it for a couple seconds as he lets it go. More and more. And you can do it on either side. A stretch only has to last 7 seconds to be effective for a horse. And I do this stretch on horses that bite a lot, which sounds silly, but sometimes that's all the oral work they need to stop biting. Race horses that bite at me a lot, which is a daily occurrence. Benefit from that. So I'm going to start there. And, oh, I need treats. See, right on side, to your right, there is that bag of treats. No. They did a study in Michigan on horses that were never worked, so that had a lot of atrophy in their spines and in their back. And they did a study for 8 weeks of just doing lateral and rounding exercises in those horses to see if they could regain muscle tone, and they did without ever riding. So these are things that you can do to strengthen your horse's back without putting him in a collected mood, especially if he's on stall rest from lameness or injury. All of these will make him more flexible and build muscle tone in the back. So this one is very simple. I'm just going to ask him to bend his chin to his chest. And you got to kind of tease him with the treat a little bit. He's cheating by backing up. And get a 5-second hold. And while he's in that position, I want to do one more and see if I can just get him to stretch between his legs. And even do a little bit of a bow stretch through his back. Take some time. I've never stretched this horse before, so he's not quite used to it or me. There we go. Good. And some of these horses you'll think, I didn't know I could do that with my horse. I'm a little nervous about doing that with my horse. Think about your own spine first. You know, you want to keep your back straight when you stretch your horses. You don't want to be really arched over like this. And take your time. Your horse has to take his time to stretch. And they're not going to be real fluid and flexible when you first start. So you just want to work with the shoulders and the pasterns, and you'll feel your horse follow into the stretch. So this stretch, we'll try to loosen up his neck a little bit. He's a lot softer on this side, obviously.
That right shoulder going his end.
Now I'm going to stretch his shoulders. Something that I want to show you. This is a really good example of, he was just adjusted in horses that have shoulders out. In my job, we go off of the acupuncture points, and there's an acupuncture triangle just behind the withers here. And when you walk up and touch a horse right here, and he flinches like this, like he has a biting fly on his back, sometimes in that triangle, that means that they need what's called a lateral shoulder release. And you think, oh, that must just be saddle fit. You know, that's why he's flinching like that. And you put your saddle on anyway and tighten it down. It's a good thing to do these releases in the shoulder. So when you come up to a horse and you touch him, you can feel 3 holes right here. Here, dirt, make a mark. And when they flinch, he's not, which is a good thing because he was just adjusted. It proves that what she did worked.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do the release to show you anyway. It never hurts to do these stretches regardless of, you know. So I'm just going to ask him to lift his leg. And this is a good time to feel down the suspensories right here. And make sure you're not feeling any bumps and it's not warm or hot. And I ask him to just move his pastern a little bit. And I'm going to roll his shoulder to the inside to loosen the shoulder before I pull his leg forward. About 5 times. Grab behind the knee, roll the pastern forward, and just hold him. Good boy. When he gives to me like that, you're done. You don't have to hang on to it. When he needs it longer, he'll stand and hold there with me. That's all he needs. And I'll do the other side. Do everything on both sides before you move back. He's very flexible. The next stretch is a lower cervical release. And it's kind of hard, it's not hard for horses to do this, but some horses that are older and have not been flexed a lot have difficulty bending their neck that far. I just pick up the foot, keep it my chest against his shoulder, reach around to the other side. John, he's going to whip his head towards you. And just scratch. Just scratch. Take his head to that way. Hear that little pop? And I want him to whip his head all the way around as far as he can. Good boy. That's a good stretch. And then as we move behind his shoulders and go towards his back, one final shoulder stretch I'll tell you is that lateral shoulder release we were talking about when this triangle is reactive here. And I'm just going to ask him, your horse can do this. Bend the leg this way. And I'm going to rest my hand on his pastern here. And less is more. You don't want to squeeze and pull. You just want to have a nice gentle touch on the pastern. And I'm just going to ask him to let his shoulder go. And go straight out. And when they become comfortable with the stretch, they'll start to step all the way over and into it. And the more he does it, the more he'll walk all the way over and just lay on it like that. Now when it comes to stretching the spine, horses have 2 sets of muscles, multifidus muscles. They have the long and short. The short muscles are about 4 inches long and they come across the spine and they are responsible, running in this direction, for all your lateral movement. The long muscles start at the pole and come all the way back to the conjuncture here with the croup. If your horse is out of alignment, your horse is going to have back problems, back soreness. If your horse is in alignment, there's a progression that happens. It goes from back pain to muscle atrophy. The problem with horses, unlike people, is that when they go from back pain to muscle atrophy, in these muscles, their bodies will not repair it on their own. You're only going to get that repair from exercise and bending and stretching. And the unfortunate thing is that we as riders, until we know how to do that, are going to have horses whose backs are continuously breaking down and we can't see that. So by doing these lateral exercises, just like the horses in the study that I was telling you about, we can build this back up without riding. I'm not a winter rider. I would like to say that I was tough enough for that, but I'm not. And so I have to stretch my horse all winter long because I won't go out and ride. If it's under 25 degrees, 30 degrees, I'm going to stand. And if that's the only stretch she's going to get to keep that back, you know, solid and to keep it sound. So I'm going through his back here like I would any therapy horse. And of course he was just adjusted, so, you know, he feels good to me. But I'm going to come back to his croup about 4 inches above his tail. He has 2 points here, sacral points. And I'm going to take those, like my hand like this, and scratch and dig into his back a little bit. It doesn't hurt him. A lot of horses like a scratch back here. See if I can't get him to roll his back a little bit.
Can we see it?
I was gonna say,
Oh, there you are.
turn
Turning around.
I was gonna say turn him around so we can see what you're doing.
Yeah, see where your fingers are.
Yeah, you can just definitely see his back come up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that this will help your horse's back problems tremendously. You won't need me.
If you do this every day with your horse, you can pop his back. Now I'll tell you, horses that are more back sore will arch like a cat the minute you start doing this. If you walk up to your horse and he's pretty limber and loose and you do this move and he doesn't move, that's a good thing. That is quite all right. So I'm going to go about 4 inches above his tail. If you run your fingers down like this, you can feel they kind of fall into 2 little holes about here. These are his sacral acupuncture points. I'm just going to dig into his back a little bit. You can see he's starting, just starting to arc like a cat, just a little bit. And since he was just adjusted, we'll do this on a couple other horses too. He does, don't let him. That's good. He had a good adjustment.
He did it last time.
They'll really curl up like a cat, the more sore they are. So that's a good test, you know, if you've ridden all day the day before, and you come out here and you do this and you kind of dig into their rear end and go like this, assess your saddle fit, assess your pads, stuff like that. So now I'm going to work on his hindquarters. Ask him to lift his leg, grab the pastern. This is just a front stretch. I give him some time because most horses are very insecure about this the first time that you do it. They're not used to being in any position but what the farrier would do. So I'm going to ask him to come forward.
He's checking you out.
And then I want to grab the toe. Just let him settle into it a little bit. And he can elongate further than you might think. They can come up almost to their front leg. And then I'm going to let him rest. And then I'm going to ask the leg to come out. And I just want him to point his toe. And step over. And like I said, this horse I've never stretched before. Sometimes they're insecure about the hind legs. They don't really know what you're doing. So they'll pull them up. But that's a good toe point right there. Then we'll do the other side.
He's already ready.
That feels good. Go ahead. One thing I do too when they're really pulling like that is I'll kind of block my shoulder in their stifle right there. And as you get to know your horse better, you'll get to know his comfort level. And you'll know when he's feeling too insecure. And as you stretch him more every day, you'll see this leg go forward and forward and forward. And the more you do it, he'll be pulling it to his knee. And then they become so comfortable with it. Good boy. Wow. They become so comfortable with it that when you're grooming, they'll do this. Like, go ahead. Go ahead and stretch me now. And I can tell you how to do all these stretches, but when you practice them, you'll be amazed when you ride how different your horse feels. They're so simple and so easy, but you will really be amazed at how much more flexibility, good boy, you get out of these horses. It's amazing.
Another thing that I noticed is my farriers. I mean, he's like, oh, it's so much easier whenever you,
It
because I
is.
stretch him out before he comes. The
Certainly.
horse can stay better, you know, and just stand there and go, oh yeah, this feels good. You know, and if the horse starts to get better, my horses will actually stretch. They go, okay, that feels better now, I'm ready to go again. And it's really amazing. And then they actually get to the point where they go, oh, this feels great.
Your
I can do
horse,
this."
yeah. If you do this enough, he'll teach himself. I have a filly on the racetrack that's a very nice filly. She's been racing now for 2 years. She's got a great career. I've been stretching her for 1.5 years. And when she comes out of her stall at the track, she goes like that. and the groom has to wait. And then she does her back legs. I mean, and no one is doing it.
Yeah,
You know,
she
we
does.
taught her, and now she practices it herself. So she's great.
She knows what she's doing.
Right.
And this is a tail stretch. This is really good for the spine as well, especially if you're getting a lot of roll right here with this and your back's arcing a lot. This tail stretch, he's really loose. A lot of horses will clamp their tail, just, you know, give him some time. He's unbelievably loose.
He's so relaxed.
He's so relaxed.
This is a spa day for Jasper.
I mean, look at him. His head's dropped and he's chewing and he's like, I'm so happy. So I'll just roll this 3 or 4 times.
No, you're not pulling on it, you're just
Not
kinda
pulling,
rolling
just
it around.
rotating his tail. I am more than 3 or 4 times. Just rotating his, and if he's insecure about it, and you have a horse that tail clamps, if you know your horse well enough that he's not going to kick you, I mean, stay safe. But if you know he's not going to kick you, then just keep rolling the tail, and they'll start to figure out this isn't hurting me, this isn't scary, and they'll get as soft as he is right now. So don't be afraid of that. And after I've rolled it several times, I want to keep the tail as straight as possible. I don't want any angles in it. Grab it with both hands, lean out, just give it a straight stretch. Pretty good stretch. You know, the tail is the extension of their spine. And you have to remember that it's not just its own separate entity with bones. You know, it is an extension of their spine. So it's a good stretch to get. One final thing that is really important in keeping your horses loose, especially if they've been riding all day, you do 8-hour trails, or you do an hour of really hard training in the arena, is, scoot over, Jasper, is a section here. Bring his head just so he's sideways. There you go. There's a section here on the spine that you'll feel, and everyone should palpate this on their horse, and I can go around to your horses and help you find this section of your horse. There's a tendon and nerve conjuncture here. If you follow the spine down, you'll come to the last vertebrae, and all of a sudden it'll get real soft and spongy right there. In Eastern medicine, we call that ba-way, and this is an acupuncture point. You can see my fingers. I'm just going to run my fingers this way. You can see them just kind of stop on their own in that point. Blam. And this point right here is actually one of the strongest points in a horse's back. If we could make a saddle fit right here, we would be doing a lot better for our horses than sitting right here, which is one of the weaker parts of their spine. This point softens the entire pelvis. If you have horses with stifle issues, if you have horses that are real hitchy in the back end and they're not quite moving out right, go to Target. Buy the cheapest little massager that you can find, AA battery massager. Set it right here at that tendon conjuncture. I'll go get mine, in fact. And this is going to sound crazy, but duct tape it to his back for 20 minutes. You can leave him in the stall, do it while he's eating, and in 5 or 10 minutes he'll have his head drop with this. It loosens the entire pelvis. And one of the reasons that we like to do that, I do it to every racehorse. So don't worry about your horse freaking out. If I can put it on a 2-year-old thoroughbred from the track, you can do it to your fox trotter who's been around a while. The reason that we do that is to soften the pelvis and the shoulders so that they can receive exercise and other treatments even better. I'm going to put that on him for just a couple of minutes.